Tonight we begin our series of interviews for City Council in District 4. The district mainly includes parts of Dorchester and Mattapan. We'd like to welcome one of the candidates in the preliminary election, Jovan Lacet. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Chris. How are you doing?
Good to have you on our show. First of all, talk about some of your experiences in law and in the military.
Well, yes. First, District 4 is Mattapan, Dorchester, Hyde Park, small section Hyde Park, small section JP, and also small section Roslindale. In terms of my experience, I'm a United States Marine Corps veteran. I'm the only veteran running for District 4. I'm an 18-year practicing attorney, and also I'm a former Boston police officer. I resided in the Mattapan and Dorchester area for the past 43 years or so. And I grew up on West Southern Street, which is in Mattapan. As a child, I went to numerous Boston public schools, including the Frank V. Thompson Middle School, the Dorchester High School for 9th and 10th, and Hyde Park for 11th and 12th. And all these schools are closed. All these schools are closed. And that's one of the things I want to do is, put in the resources, as we'll discuss later, is put the proper resources in the Boston public school so they can stop closing, because we're closing so many schools per year, which is just ridiculous.
What about the quality of schools in Mattapan? That has been a problem too.
It's always been a problem. We even have a new school. When I say new, it's no more than 10 years old, the Mildred Middle School. And that school's failing. The quality is just not there. And one reason the quality is not there, it's many factors. One of the factors in terms of the city is not putting enough resources in there. It's the resources. It's the communication, parent and teacher communication. Sometimes that's an issue. But the main issue, though, is the resources. The schools need the resources. The good schools, they have the resources, okay? Like the Murphy School in Dorchester, they have the resources. Some of these schools have 2 full-time teachers or a teacher and a para. But most of the schools in Mattapan, they don't have that. They don't have a full teacher and a para. They don't have that. It makes it easier for the teacher to control the classroom when the teacher has a full para in their classroom with him or her.
You're also concerned about recent cutbacks in busing, I think mainly for middle school students.
Yes, that's a major flaw in the busing system. When I went to high school in Hyde Park from West Southern Street, I caught the bus. I was in 11th and 12th grade, teenager, pretty much an adult at the age of 18, catching a school bus. Now they want to put out. This year, our 8th graders and 7th graders will be catching the MBTA, public transportation to school. Last year, the 8th graders had to catch the MBTA. This year, the 7th grade. Eventually, they're gonna cut out the school buses for entirely middle school kids. We can't have that, and it's only to save $8 million a year. We're just about to impart on the Olympic, which probably would have cost the taxpayers anywhere from $1 to $2 billion. And this is one time about Boston taxpayers. And now, maybe Massachusetts taxpayers, but now we wanted to save $8 million. We're going to cut out the school buses for middle school kids. That's not acceptable. We need to do what's in the best interest of the children. Cutting the school buses is not in the best interest of children. Not putting enough resources in the schools is not in the best interest of children. A lot of time in the schools in my district, especially Mattapan, Dorchester, and some schools in JP too, but mainly in Mattapan, Dorchester, they'll have what they call turnaround schools. And when they have turnaround schools, they provide the schools more resources and provide the principal more autonomy. But sometimes they don't always provide them sufficient resources or sufficient autonomy to do what they actually need to do in the school. Sometimes they'll force the failing school, they'll force that new principal, or they'll keep a principal there and allow them to keep more than, keep 80% of the teachers. No, whenever you have a turnaround school, you're supposed to have at least 50% new teachers. And some schools, some good turnaround schools, they have about 80% new teachers and staff. That's how you do it in other staff. You have to do that.
Well, you're running against an incumbent counselor who probably agrees with you about busing for middle school students and who's been trying for a long time to get a new high school in Mattapan. So what would you bring to the table that hasn't been brought so far? Well,
what happened under Councilor Yancey's watch, while he was fighting for this high school in Mattapan, he took his eye off the ball and allowed numerous schools to close. He's trying to open one school. While he's trying to open one school, English High closed, Dorchester High closed, Hyde Park High closed. I mean, come on. I mean, you trying to open schools before you talk about opening a school and spending $1 million that we don't really have, or that we have but we can put towards the present schools to better the schools. Let's better those schools. Let's keep those schools open. Okay, let's keep the middle schools like the Frank V. Thompson, the Phyllis Wheatley that closed. Let's keep those schools open. Let's work on that first. Let's improve what we have instead of trying to, put money that we don't have towards a new school.
I want to draw on your experience as a police officer. One of the most disturbing things people have been talking about in Mattapan is a recent shooting. There are 3 people who were injured in a street that has had some multiple shootings over the past year or so. What should be done about that kind of a pattern?
Well, believe it or not, it is improving. It needs more work. The police and the community need to work together more. Okay, under the new B3 Captain Hussein, Mattapan is improving. A different kind of policing is taking place in Mattapan. Folks who don't live in Mattapan, they don't know about it. They may not know about it, but it is getting better. We're gonna have some bad seeds. And we also have a lot of street workers. Between the police, the street workers, and just people like myself who grew up in the community, who talk to the young folks we see. It is changing. And for it to also change, these young folks who's hanging around, who's not doing anything, it's not that they don't want to do anything. They want jobs. Let's create a better residency law that's going to provide jobs to these Boston residents instead of provide more jobs to folks who live in Quincy, Braintree, even as far as Maine and New Hampshire. I mean, it's not like these folks who's...
Tell me a little bit more how you would change what we have now, because what's there in the books, it's wide, but with also some very big loopholes for certain jobs.
Very big loophole. As a veteran, I can say, when I joined the Marine Corps, I joined the Marine Corps to serve my country, to protect my country. I didn't join the Marine Corps to get out after I got out to get a preference. I didn't. So in that respect, what we need to do in terms of city jobs, okay, where the veterans, especially when it comes to fire department and the police department, the veterans, they dominate that. What you have to say is that, you know what, we need to, if you want to be employed by the city, you need to have at least 4 years, not including teachers, okay? But in terms of fire department, police department, and some other departments, you need to have, as a veteran, at least 4-year residency. 4-year residency, not 1 year. And then as a non-veteran, 5-year residency. And then also give additional preference points to folks who's been what we call lifetime residents, who's been in the city for more than 10 years. And then additional points for folks who's been in lifetime residents who've been for more than 20 years or more. There's no reason if I grew up in the city, now my daughter goes up in the city, and then it's my daughter wants a job, or some of my neighbors' job. I'll be exact. Some of my neighbors, they want a job. However, they can't get it. They can't get a city job because, you know what? A veteran who just got out of the military, who has about a year living in the city of Boston, has preference over them, but their grandparents grew up here, their parents grew up here, and now they've been here for 27 years and they can't get a job. That doesn't make any sense. That's not fair. It's just not fair.
Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Chris.
Jovan Lacet, candidate for City Council in District 4.